Hello and welcome to the JimRPG show. This is your weekly roundup of news from the gaming industry, and today we're going to be starting off with PS5 pre-orders, when they will likely occur, and then we're going to be talking about Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's looking like it's going to be an August release, and there's been some new info released this week. And then we're also going to be talking about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Ubisoft, they released a gameplay trailer. It was about 30 minutes long, so we're going to be having a look at that. But let's get straight into it, and we're going to be talking about PlayStation 5 pre-orders. Jeff Keighley, who hosts the Game Awards, he has a YouTube series called Summer Games Fest, and this week he went hands-on with the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller. And he also had PlayStation Worldwide Marketing Head Eric Lempel on his show, and they talked about PlayStation 5 pre-orders. So let's have a listen to what they said about that.
We saw even this week there were rumors that pre-orders were happening and the Twitter lit up. I don't know where these rumors start, but I have to ask you, are you about to press the button now for pre-orders? When can we expect to get our PS5?
No, definitely not now. We don't know what happened there. We had nothing to do with it. I got a message from someone saying people are lining up at stores, and we had no idea why. So I think it's safe to say, for all of your viewers, we'll let you know when pre-order will happen. We will let you know. It's not going to happen with a minute's notice. We're going to, at some point, let you know when you can pre-order a PlayStation 5. So please don't feel like you have to go run out and line up anywhere until you receive official notice on how that'll work. So I don't know how that happened. Don't know who did it. Wasn't us, though.
We saw.
Okay, so basically last week we reported that Amazon Australia and a lot of other online retailers, they put up their pages for the PlayStation 5 console and the games and the accessories. And Jeff was asking Eric what was happening with that, because it looked like there were rumors going around that pre-orders were starting soon. And it looks like it was kind of a misunderstanding, really, between the online retailer and the public. And it wasn't Sony's intention to let online retailers put up pages for that to be taken as pre-orders. And that makes a lot of sense because we don't even know the price at the moment. So normally they would have some sort of show, or there would be some sort of announcement to reveal the price, let that sink in. And maybe even at the start, normally they would have some rumors to get a feel of people, whether they like the price or not. And the way that Eric Lampel said, no, definitely not, kind of tells me that Sony's not just going to stealthily drop the PS5 price and pre-orders and leave the online retailers to handle it. They're going to have some sort of announcement beforehand and allow maybe a couple of weeks before people can get their pre-orders in. And I would probably assume that they're probably going to go down the more Apple route and make sure that they got everything ready for the big price announcement, and then they're going to do it within maybe 1 to 2 months, and that should be enough time for online retailers to organize themselves. It's not going to be a stock issue, because I think every online retailer is just going to grab as many hardware consoles as they can, and no matter what, they're probably all going to sell out of the first run anyways. So I think if you want a PS5, you definitely need to pre-order, but they will give you plenty of advance notice. Now, Jeff Keighley also had a look at the hands-on of the PlayStation 5 DualSense control. So there it is right there. He's holding both of them. So you can see that the PlayStation 5 DualSense is a little bit larger, and he also notes that it's a little bit heavier as well. He doesn't say it's uncomfortable, he just says there's more heft and there's more weight to it, and in general he thinks it feels better in the hand, which of course he'll say that, right? But you can see there the color scheme, the white and black. I don't really like that color scheme that much. I think they probably should have just gone with an all black, just keep it simple. But obviously they wanted to change it up and get more people talking about next gen console in any way that they can. Now, the couple of features that he did talk about on the new features for the DualSense control this time around was that one, there is haptic feedback in the controller, particularly when you press the triggers. So what he explained that, and what he meant by that was the developers, they can program in a specific amount of tension in the triggers. So there'll be things that, like, if they want you to feel something heavier or needs more weight to push down, then they will program it so it's harder to push the trigger down. And they will also, for light things, they may make it very easy to push the trigger. And also they talked about the speaker on the controller. There's a speaker on there now, and he talks a little bit about that, and he can, I guess, hear a lot of sound effects as he's playing the game. Now, one more thing that he did say was that I believe the Astrobots game, Playroom Astrobots, is a free game that is included with every PlayStation 5 and is pre-installed on the system. And then it's kind of like what the PlayStation 4 had. They had a demo of some sorts as well with that. And people were making chat shows and things, I recall, with the PlayStation 4 one. Now it's the Playroom Astrobots game on the PlayStation 5, and basically is a game where you can see all of the new features of the DualSense controller. So in his YouTube video, he runs through a part of the demo of Astrobots, so you can go and check that out for yourself. And then he has an interview with Eric Lampel, the worldwide PlayStation marketing leader. So that's it for the PlayStation 5 news this week. So with the pre-orders, they will give you plenty of advance notice, so make sure to keep up to date. Follow this channel, and we'll let you know as soon as the pre-orders are available, and subscribe to the channel. Now to some Microsoft news, and Microsoft officially confirms that they're discontinuing the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S All Digital Edition, though they're going to be keeping the Xbox One S console around. So Eurogamer has this report, and it was confirmed by Microsoft. It said a Microsoft spokesperson, so we don't actually know who said it, but they are saying, they say, as we ramp into the future with Xbox Series X, a Microsoft spokesperson said, we're taking the natural step of stopping production on Xbox One X and Xbox One S All Digital Edition. Xbox One S will continue to be manufactured and sold globally. The company also suggested that those looking to purchase an Xbox One should check with their local retailers for more details on Xbox One hardware availability. I think this is super interesting, because now you have to think about, like, if you want to buy a Xbox One X, even I think there kind of is no point unless you are definitely not getting an Xbox Series X for some time, because the Xbox Series X will probably do everything the Xbox One X will, but the Xbox Series X, we don't know what the price is, so it could be like $499, $599, and if you can get a Xbox One X for cheap, say for $299 for example, that might be a good way to get a 4K box where you can play all of the Xbox One games at 4K for next generation. Now, because we kind of know there's been rumors about a lockout system, the lockout system is the Xbox Series S, and that will be a 1080p console which can also play next generation games, but only at 1080p, and the Xbox Series X plays it at 4K. What you kind of want to do, like, I think that they probably should have kept the Xbox One X around, and then that would be a nice way for people to play all of the old Xbox One games at 4K, which I don't believe the Xbox lockout system would really do, because that would be a 1080p focused system. So I think they probably should have kept that around. The Xbox One S is just really old right now. It's the specs are basically like it's a 1.3 teraflop system, which is pretty low, all things considered. And yeah, it's fine if you just want to play like Minecraft or something like that. But if you wanted to play the whole library, I feel like the Xbox One X would be the way to go. It's a more powerful system, and then you can play all of the Xbox games at better with better performance. But this is really interesting. They're discontinuing it. So normally what happens is they discontinue stuff before they go and produce the new one, because they need to open up the production lines. So if you basically, this is a announcement. If you want to get an Xbox One X, now would be the time to do so. If you wait a little bit longer, what usually happens is, because the stock runs out, then the price will increase. There won't be as much stock out there, so the retailers will want to jack up the price, because for the people who really want one, they will pay more because there are less around. So if you see a cheap Xbox One X system out there and you know you wanted one, maybe even for collections sakes, right? So that you can play all of the Xbox One games at a great performance, and you don't have to buy an Xbox Series X. The Xbox One X would be the way to go. There's been some new information about Microsoft Flight Simulator now that they're ramping up for release. The game will come out August 2020, and actually, well, it says here 18th of August 2020, and I'll just read some of this article from Eurogamer. There's quite a bit of information there about Microsoft Flight Simulator. So there's going to be 3 versions of Microsoft Flight Simulator. There's a standard edition, and then there's going to be a deluxe edition and a premium edition, and they're basically tiers for the amount of stuff that you get in the game. So it says here, standard edition players will be able to fly from all airports in the game, but there are handcrafted elements that will improve the experience from those airports included in the different editions. So the premium edition Heathrow, for example, will be better than the Heathrow in the standard and deluxe editions, but that does mean standard edition users will indeed be able to fly from Heathrow as well as all UK airports. Microsoft Flight Simulator includes nearly every airport around the globe that is represented in Bing Maps, which is roughly 37,000. However, of those 37,000 airports, we have specifically handcrafted 40 of them, depending on the edition: 30 for standard edition, 35 for deluxe, and 40 for premium deluxe edition, for the most realistic and immersive simulation experience. Now, I believe basically the standard edition will probably be just very generic elements that they put down to make it sort of look like what the actual airport looks like. But for the premium edition, that would mean that the airport looks exactly like what it's supposed to look like. Now let's talk about price. And actually, I don't even know if this comes out on Xbox. I don't believe this is coming out on Xbox, so it's just PC. This really needs to come out on Xbox One X or even Xbox Series X when the next generation consoles come out. But they've said that the standard edition will be £59.99. I believe it will probably be $59 US. And then this includes 20 highly detailed planes with unique flight models and 30 handcrafted airports. The $79.99 Deluxe Edition, which includes everything in the Standard Edition plus 5 additional highly accurate planes with unique flight models, and 5 additional handcrafted international airports. So you get 5 more planes and 5 more airports for an extra £20. So you can decide whether that's worth it for you. And the Premium Deluxe Edition is $109.99, and it includes 10 additional planes and 10 additional airports. So it's another £30 for the next 5 additional and 5 planes, basically. And on Xbox Game Pass, you get the standard edition for free. So, but you can upgrade it, of course, if you wanted to. You pay the extra $49.99 to get the premium edition to get the extra airports. Now, this is really cool. Like, this is the list of airports. I'm not going to read out the entire list of airports, but a few ones that stand out to me is that New Zealand Queenstown is there, and Sydney is also there as well in the standard edition, and they've got airports from every continent, so no one is going to miss out, I think. Now, surprisingly, they don't have any Chinese airports, but I believe that's probably because they're not on Bing Maps. I don't know, but there's no Chinese airports. They have Haneda, but airport from Japan, but not Narita. What else do they have? They have Frankfurt Airport, Germany, Heathrow, but both of them are locked behind the premium deluxe version. They also say that the Boeing 787 Dreamliner is locked behind the premium edition. And this is the list of aircraft in the game. I was surprised there's only one Airbus and one Boeing. I don't believe, or two Boeing. This is 747-8 International. And there's also no Steam version, at least to begin with. The previous Microsoft Flight Simulator X is on Steam, so who knows? It will probably come out at some time. A lot of the Microsoft games do come out on Steam, but usually they have some sort of like exclusive period for the Windows 10 shop, Windows 10 online store. An Xbox version of Microsoft Flight Simulator is due, but doesn't have a release date yet. Okay, so that's what I thought. I thought there was an Xbox version, and it just hasn't been announced, or there's no release date yet. Now, there's also a little bit more extra information. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 will also have a third-party marketplace announced. So what this means is that if you're a creator, you can create things for the game, and then you can charge users to buy your content. And they also note that people who sell stuff online on their store can also go and sell it on their own site if they really want to. So basically, it's just another way to sell your stuff. So there's an online marketplace where all of the content can be put together, and that seems like a really good, sensible idea for people who want to like put their content on for sale. We've seen this with like Forza. I don't know if they you can sell stuff on Forza, but you can definitely create stuff, paints and skins and things like that for your cars, and then people can just go and download different people's skins and things for their cars. So this is kind of more the same, except now you can sell stuff. I think that makes a lot of sense because this is going to be a very adult game, so there's no reason why not to have an online store. I don't think there'll be that many like kids and things on there that will kind of just go crazy and buy everything and destroy people's credit cards. Destroy their dad's credit card. Okay, so let me read a little bit of this. I'll just make it a little bigger because it's too small. Now, the new Marketplace Partner Program provides a streamlined path for you to partner with Microsoft and sell your content directly from the simulator itself. There is no cost to sign up for the program, but you need to apply and be approved in order to get started. Once you've been approved and you've published content in the marketplace, you'll be able to see how your content is performing, how much revenue you are earning, and automatically receive payments based on your payment profile. The marketplace will operate under an agency model, which means that you as the content creator will set the price for every piece of content you submit. Becoming a partner doesn't alter your ability to sell your content on your own websites and storefronts. Just like with FSX, Flight Simulator X, you can continue to sell your content outside of our marketplace. Becoming a Microsoft Flight Simulator Marketplace partner essentially unlocks another channel for you. If you're interested in participating in our Sim Marketplace, you're welcome to apply. Our marketplace team will review your application and let you know whether it is approved. We'll try to approve as many partners as possible, but we expect our capacity to be limited, at least initially. So I think this is a really cool initiative, and I think it's going to bring a lot of players in, because most people want to consume content, but there are going to be creators who are going to help make the game a lot better, and that's the way it should be. That makes a lot of sense to me. And you know, with the way that PCs, there's so many people out there modding stuff, I think they're going to get excited for this, and now that they can create content, and you know, being able to set the price, because if it doesn't sell well, they can adjust the price as they need to. Hopefully will dictate the price of the content, the value of the content. So Ubisoft last week, they had a Ubisoft Forward presentation, and now I already talked about some of the games that they showed off in that presentation, which was Far Cry 6 and Watch Dogs Legion. And they also showed off Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and we've talked a lot about that game, so I decided to leave it for this week. And they had a 30-minute presentation where they had some voiceover between a couple of people who worked at Ubisoft, and they went through the game, showing a lot of interesting aspects of the game. So you can check out the 30-minute gameplay walkthrough on YouTube yourself. I'll leave a link in the description below. But let's have a read through the Eurogamer article, which lists a little bit of what was actually in the gameplay demo. And so they say this section shows a climatic fort assault spotted in those leaks, but also some more peaceful gameplay exploring East Anglia, which is supposed to be England, I guess, and attending a wedding between tribes. Well, it starts peaceful anyway. Several long-lost features return from previous Assassin's Creed entries. You can once again engage in social stealth within crowds by putting up your hood and blending in. You can hunt down pieces of paper via AC3 style parkour challenges. These now unlock tattoo designs, and chill out with a spot of fishing as in Black Flag. Regenerative health is gone, replaced by the need to forage for food and eat rations. There's now a gallop meter for horses and a charisma meter for conversations. Other activities shown included flighting. So this is more like a rap battle, or at least that's how they described it in the trailer. Building cans. Building cans is stacking rocks to make it to a specific height, but if you don't stack it properly, then the rocks fall off. But this makes a lot more sense if you actually watch the trailer rather than me explaining it. And drinking games where you chug horns of drink, and you can interact and recruit cats to join your longship crew. So you can also check out this video. I haven't looked at that video because I watched the 30-minute trailer. But the few things that were in the game, they showed off the combat, and it looked like it was very visceral, a little bit more improved from the Origins and Odyssey gameplay. It looked like it was a lot faster, and I do believe they brought back the shield, although I don't remember. So there was a lot of diving around in the gameplay demo where they're storming the fort. And it looked like Eivor had a lot of moves at her disposal, so she looked like she was just a superhero, basically, just diving around everywhere and coming up around behind the enemies, and then just attacking them from behind. So the combat, I think if you're after more action, then this definitely for sure has more action elements than your Odyssey and Origins combat. They also showed off some of the fishing. It looked kind of like, Zelda or whatever have you. They also showed off if there are houses locked, it becomes more like a puzzle and you have to work out how to get in. So in the demo, you can actually look through some of the windows and see that there's a lock on the door, and you can use your bow and arrow to shoot an arrow through and break the lock. to open the door from the other side. They also showed the flighting, which was basically like you need to read the best response, and so there would be a sort of like a rap battle where one guy would give you a comment and then you had to reply back with a more smart aleck comment, and if you did that enough times, and if he thinks your responses are good, then he will then you win the rap battle. But basically overall, I think that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is still a fairly similar game to at least the last two Assassin's Creeds that we've seen. I feel like Origins is much different to the earlier titles, but Valhalla is more of the same of the last two. So in a way, you could call this a bit of a trilogy between these three. And I guess the next Assassin's Creed will be a more next-gen version, and this is more the cross-gen version of Assassin's Creed. I feel like with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, this was the time where they really decided that they wanted to go with an open world Assassin's Creed. And we saw in the past with Syndicate, it was a much smaller area where it was more city focused. But with Origins and Odyssey, we had these large sprawling maps with lots of water around everywhere, and it looks like there's probably going to be a lot of water too, with the Vikings and the Viking longships in Valhalla. So I think the thing that's going to define Assassin's Creed this generation is the massive open world. Now actually I don't think that's a really good design, gameplay design, because as I said in my review, my very first review for my YouTube channel, the distances between locations and things that you do, if it's too long, then most of that is just going to be walking around, and it's kind of going to be boring gameplay. Like if you have to go from one location to another, there's nothing fun about doing the travel, and you kind of cheat yourself if you have to put a fast travel option into the game where you have to skip all over the place. And having such a large map and having a lot of repetitive running around kind of is wasting the player's time, and I think that's an issue with Valhalla. I mean, obviously we haven't seen the map yet, we don't know how big it is. Hopefully it's going to be more condensed with more things to do, but I think you can see from the gameplay itself, from the gameplay demo, that it's kind of looking like a very similar game to Origins and Odyssey. Now if you like those, then great. I think you'll also like this because it's going to be improved on that. But if you don't like it, I don't know if there's going to be that much different to the other two games. And if you've never played one before, yeah, I would suggest you'd probably want to play Valhalla, because it's probably going to improve on a lot of the things that made Origins and Odyssey kind of boring and people were complaining about so long. So I would recommend, even if the other couple are cheap, I would probably just recommend to get Valhalla anyway. Well, we don't know if it will be good or not, but I think I think they will probably improve over time. And yeah, I think the other thing that we saw a lot of in the gameplay demo was that there was quite a lot of conversation. They did talk over the top of that in the in their gameplay demo. But honestly, a lot of the dialogue and a lot of the story in Assassin's Creed is really dry and boring, and it looks like that hasn't really changed either. So I'm a little bit concerned about that as well. I just judging from the gameplay demo, if that's more of the if that's the type of if that's the quality that we're going to get, then I'd probably expect that throughout the rest of the game. So I don't really have very high hopes for the story itself, but if you wanted to play an open world game where you're just running around killing everyone, then I think Assassin's Creed Valhalla is probably the game that you want to play. So at the start of this week, Pro Evolution Soccer, or otherwise known as PES, they announced that there was going to be just DLC for this year's iteration of PES. And people were confused what that was all about, and it looks like we have a bit more information now. So it's not actually just DLC, but it's a standalone game where it's basically like a FIFA's Legacy Edition, where they just update the rosters of all of the teams, but the game is fundamentally the same. So PC Gamer has an article about this. They basically say that PES 2021 is effectively PES 2020 but with updated player and club information, as well as a Euro 2020 mode. The real Euro 2020 has been pushed back to next year because of the pandemic, but this mode will let you simulate the tournament with 55 teams ahead of next summer. Now this mode was already DLC for PES 2020, so technically if you didn't want to get PES 2021, then you basically have the 2021 game, like all the gameplay anyway, so there'd be no need to get 2021 if you don't want the roster update. But if that matters to you, like you want all of the correct players on the right teams, then you'd want to get 2021. Now that's because Konami are working on a PES 2020 for next generation consoles and PC. And also, they didn't say it in this article, but as I was reading some forums, it looks like there's not going to be a Fox engine, and it will be on, actually it says it right here, it will be on the Unreal Engine. PES 2022 will be on the Unreal Engine. And they also say that it's going to be available for £24.99. It didn't say US price, but I'd assume that it's probably going to be around the same price. And it's going to be released September 15. So we're actually going to get a next-gen version next year. And for this year, it's going to be an interim gap where there isn't really a new PES, but obviously they didn't want to lose any of their customers, people who play the series, so they just did a DLC update. Now this is pretty much the first time that anyone has done this, just a roster update. Even with FIFA, I don't think they do that, except for the legacy editions for Switch and the older consoles. They would throw out the legacy edition. But while we're actually talking about PES, I thought it would be a good time to actually talk about the series, and I'm actually surprised that Konami want to keep going with this series, especially when it gets beaten every single year consistently by FIFA. And I don't really know what the stats are, but the amount of talk between FIFA and PES, it's basically as if PES is non-existent. FIFA, it might as well be like 50 sales to 1 at this stage. We don't exactly know the stats for PES, but FIFA are winning in every single way. Most of it is to do with the fact that PES doesn't actually have any real teams, and most of the teams usually custom or player created content. So normally somebody would actually create all the teams, create all the logos and all of that, and then upload it, and then people would be able to download that. On PC, people just go to a site and then download that information and then copy it into their folders, and then it would appear in the game. And the same thing for the PS4 and Xbox series, Xbox versions of the game. They would go to a website and copy all that information and then go to their PlayStation and then or Xbox, and there's an option in the game where you can upload different option files. And I think that's the main criticism of PES. I think if they actually had more rosters or more teams, official teams, they'd actually do a lot better than what it is actually doing. And I don't know why. There's some sort of exclusive. FIFA has some sort of exclusivity with FIFA, so they get a blanket exclusivity with all of the leagues and all of the teams. But it seems as though PES have been buying out some teams Normally they will feature like maybe a couple of teams from each league, so they'll just have the most popular teams like Bayern or Barcelona, Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool have been featured as well for PES. But most of the other teams are not featured, and they usually have some generic name, where basically it's like Manchester Blue or Manchester Red type of thing. I think that has hurt it a lot, and there was a time with PlayStation 2 when PES was doing okay. I wouldn't say amazing, but at that time FIFA was doing so badly that people were looking for a better soccer game, and as FIFA got better, there has been less need for a PES. Now, personally, as a person who plays more PES than FIFA, PES still feels better to me than FIFA. For some reason, the passing game isn't as nice and crisp as the Pro Evolution game. So it's a bit sad to see the way that PES has gone down. I said previously that it's probably looking like it probably won't exist in the next 3 or 4 years if it keeps on going down this path. But it seems as though what Konami are doing is that they just create one version of the game and then sell it for the entire generation. So we had the PlayStation 4 version of the game, and then they would keep on reiterating and updating that. And looks like that's what they're doing here. They're spending 2 years to make the game, and then they will iterate that every year. And effectively what they're doing is like all of the fans will buy like 4 or 5 versions of the game, so it's kind of worth it for them to do that. Now Konami, they don't really have any other games right now. They had Metal Gear Survive, and aside from that maybe Castlevania, but they don't have any games, which leaves me to wonder like what's going to happen with PES. I think like I said before, maybe at the end of the next generation, PlayStation 5, it's going to struggle so much that maybe they're just not going to have PES, which is a real shame, because that means FIFA will probably go the way of Madden. There's no competition for Madden, so then the actual game kind of suffers for that. And similar with NBA 2K, even though NBA 2K, people seem to think that it's the best basketball game, but because there's no competition, we don't really get to see the NBA 2K team pushed like they were when 2K first started. When 2K first came into the market, people really enjoyed the simulation aspect over NBA Live. And that's what made FIFA improve so much, because there was always Pro Evolution Soccer. So there's an article from Videocars that says that according to the Chinese website IT Home, there are going to be 4 Nvidia graphics cards that will be retired soon, and the manufacturer is allegedly planning to discontinue their production. And they say that it will be the 2080 Ti, the 2080 Super, the 2070 Super, and surprisingly the 2070 Super, this regular version is still around, and that's also going to be retired soon. And this kind of all lines up with the fact that, well, the 30 series is going to be coming out very shortly, and most of the rumors point to the fact that 30 series or Ampere is going to be out in August, maybe September. Now, 2 years ago, the RTX 20 series were launched in August 20th and released a month later on September 20th. And IT Home is saying that the GeForce RTX 30 series, they're expecting that it's going to be released September 17th. Now, this could mean that there's going to be an event in August that announces these products, but it doesn't say. I guess they're probably just guessing, really, but the concrete information looks like it's this bit here where they're discontinuing the RTX 20 cards, and that further cements the fact that 30 series is coming, basically, that these old cards are going to be retired and to make way for the 30 series cards. And we kind of all knew this anyways, that 30 series was coming. This is just more proof that that's true. And it looks like if if we're strictly going by this information, that the 2080 Ti, that there's going to be a 3080 Ti at launch, and who knows, some of the leaks show that there might be a 3080 Ti, and some show that the 3080 will actually be the top tier model, kind of like what happened with 1080 and 1070. The 1080 Ti didn't actually come until about 6 months later, I believe, 6 to 9 months, and they launched with just the 1080 and just the 1070. It was the 20 series where they launched a 2080 Ti, 2080, and 2870. But who knows? We don't really know yet. I think what's going to happen is they're going to hold off on the 2080 Ti, or sorry, the 3080 Ti or the 3090 or whatever they want to call it, because the AMD Navi is going to come out at some point, probably like, as I speculated, around February or March next year, which means that Nvidia probably want to hold something else and to compete with the AMD Navi 2X. So when AMD Navi 2X comes out in March, boom, Nvidia are going to come out with their 3090 or 3080 Ti. And the 3080, maybe they'll be happy with the fact that this will take the performance crown for the time being. And you know what, in the past, like, Nvidia were always very careful with this. Like, they would bring out the 1080 and that would be the new leader, and then 6 to 9 months later they would make everybody upgrade again, and all the people who had 1080s would go and buy the 1080 Ti, which was ridiculous because even at that stage people would do a SLI of two 1080s, and then they would go and buy two 1080 Ti's, which was just insane. But people who needed the most performance wanted to grab the latest, and it wasn't a price issue. So this could happen again, that we get a 3080 and a 3070, and then the 3080 Ti may come out later. And we'll just have to wait and see, but it's kind of pointing to the fact that we're definitely going to get a 3080 and a 3070 in August, September sometime. So that about does it for this episode of the show. Make sure to click on the like button if you like the video, and be sure to subscribe so you get more videos like this, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.